Section 1 from the book of Genesis. He stayed there that night and took from what he had with him a present for Esau his brother, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels and their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. He delivered them into the hands of his servants, every herd by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass over before me, and put a space between herd and herd." He commanded the foremost, saying, "When Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, 'Whose are you? Where are you going? Whose are these before you?' Then you shall say, 'They are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. Behold, he also is behind us." He commanded also the second and the third and all that followed the herd, saying, "This is how you shall speak to Esau when you find him. You shall say, not only that, but behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For, he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me." So the present passed over before him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. He rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 handmaids, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of the Jabbok. He took them, and sent them over the stream, and sent over what he had. Jacob was left alone, and wrestled with a man there until the breaking of the day. When he saw that he couldn't beat him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was dislocated as he wrestled. The man said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." Jacob said, "I won't let you go unless you bless me." He said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." He said, "Your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have fought with God and men and have prevailed." Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." He said, "Why is it that you ask what my name is?" He blessed him. Jacob called the name of the place Penuel, saying, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." The sun rose as he passed through Penuel, and he limped because of his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel don't eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the hollow of the thigh, to this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the hip. Section 2 from the first book of Samuel. Now the Philistines had taken the ark of God, and they had brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. The Philistines took the ark of God, and brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. When they of Ashdod arose early on the next day, behold, Dagon had fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of Forever One. They took Dagon, and set him in his place again. When they arose early on the next morning, behold, Dagon had fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of Forever One, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands lay cut off on the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left. Therefore neither the priests of Dagon nor any who come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod to this day. But the hand of Forever One was heavy on them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them, and struck them with tumors, even Ashdod and its borders. When the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, "The ark of the God of Israel shall not stay with us, for his hand is severe on us, and on Dagon our God." They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines to them, and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" They answered, "Let the ark of the God of Israel be carried over to Gath." They carried the ark of the God of Israel there. It was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of Forever One was against the city with a very great confusion, and he struck the men of the city, both small and great, and tumors broke out on them. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. As the ark of God came to Ekron, the Ekronites cried out, saying, "They have brought the ark of the God of Israel to us, to kill us and our people." They sent therefore and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines, and they said, Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to its own place, that it not kill us and our people. For there was a deadly confusion throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. The men who didn't die were struck with the tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. The ark of Forever One was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. The Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, What shall we do with the ark of Forever One? Show us with which we shall send it to its place. They said, If you send away the ark of the God of Israel, don't send it empty, but by all means return him a trespass offering. Then you shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then they said, What shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They said, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines, for one plague was on you all, and on your lords. Therefore you shall make images of your tumors, and images of your mice that mar the land, and you shall give glory to the God of Israel. Perhaps he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. Then why do you harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? When he had worked wonderfully among them, didn't they let the people go, and they departed? Now therefore take and prepare yourselves a new cart, and 2 milk cows, on which there has been no yoke, and tie the cows to the cart, and bring their calves home from them. And take the ark of Forever One, and lay it on the cart, and put the jewels of gold, which you return him for a trespass offering, in a coffer by its side, and send it away that it may go. Behold, if it goes up by the way of its own border to Beth-shemesh, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that it is not his hand that has struck us. It was a chance that happened to us. Section 3, from the second book of Chronicles. Huram made the pots and the shovels and the basins. So Huram made an end of doing the work that he did for King Solomon in the house of God, the 2 pillars and the bowls, and the 2 capitals which were on the top of the pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars. He also made the bases and the basins on the bases, 1 sea and the 12 oxen under it. Also the pots and the shovels and the forks and all its vessels Huram his father made for King Solomon for the house of Forever One of bright brass. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zeredah. Thus Solomon made all these vessels in great abundance, for the weight of the brass could not be found out. Solomon made all the vessels that were in the house of God, the golden altar also, and the tables with the showbread on them, and the lampstands with their lamps to burn according to the ordinance before the oracle, of pure gold, and the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold, and that perfect gold, and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the firepans of pure gold. And as for the entry of the house, the inner doors of it, for the most holy place, and the doors of the main hall of the temple, were of gold. Thus all the work that Solomon did for the house of Forever One was finished. Solomon brought in the things that David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and all the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of the house of God. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the father's house of the children of Israel, to Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Forever One out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves to the king at the feast, which was in the 7th month. all the elders of Israel came, and the Levites took up the ark, and they brought up the ark, and the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. These the priests, the Levites, brought up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled to him were before the ark, sacrificing sheep and cattle that could not be counted nor numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of the covenant of everyone to its place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its poles above. The poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the ark before the oracle, but they were not seen outside, and there it is to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 tables which Moses put there at Horeb, when everyone made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt. Section 4, from the book of Mark. He said, God's kingdom is as if a man should cast seed on the earth, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring up and grow, though he doesn't know how. For the earth bears fruit by itself, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. But when the fruit is ripe, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come. He said, How will we liken God's kingdom, or with what parable will we illustrate it? It's like a grain of mustard seed, which, when it is sown in the earth, though it is less than all the seeds that are on the earth, yet when it is sown, grows up and becomes greater than all the herbs, and puts out great branches, so that the birds of the sky can lodge under its shadow. With many such parables he spoke the word to them, as they were able to hear it. Without a parable he didn't speak to them, but privately to his own disciples he explained everything. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, Let's go over to the other side. Leaving the multitude, they took him with them, even as he was in the boat. Other small boats were also with him. A big windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so much that the boat was already filled. He himself was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him up and told him, Teacher, don't you care that we are dying? He awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. The wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He said to them, Why are you so afraid? How is it that you have no faith? They were greatly afraid, and said to one another, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? They came to the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. When he had come out of the boat, immediately a man with an unclean spirit met him out of the tombs. He lived in the tombs. Nobody could bind him any more, not even with chains, because he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been torn apart by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Nobody had the strength to tame him. Always, night and day, in the tombs and in the mountains, he was crying out and cutting himself with stones.